Bishop, welcome once again.
Good to be here.
Recently, a Pew Research study said that the church in America will pretty soon be 40% Hispanic. How is that evident in Brooklyn and Queens?
Well, it's probably 50% in Brooklyn and Queens. I mean, given the population and the number of Hispanics. The other thing that came out in this study is that there's a diminishing number of Hispanics who identify themselves as Catholic. Was up the last time I think Pew did it, it was around 74%. I think now it's about 54% in a span of maybe 5 years. So it's a little bit troublesome. We do know that with new immigrants, there's basically a choice that they face. Either they practice their faith even more intensely, or they abandon their faith. And it doesn't mean they're going to other religions either. Some of them do, but many of them, it's a kind of a crisis in their life. This has been studied a lot, quite a bit, but it is an opportunity to meet them, especially as new immigrants. Either they're going to embrace their faith and practice it more intensely, or they're going to forget about it. America's a place where nobody knows what you do. You don't live in a little village where everybody sees you. You're not going to church. Why are you not going to church? So there's anonymity, especially in our big cities. So it's not surprising to me. The numbers, again, are disturbing, but it is a problem, and that's why more than ever we've got to intensify our efforts to outreach, especially for the new immigrants and for those who have been here a while.
There seems to be a lot of proselytism going on among evangelical churches and Mormons, and they're reaching out, and for some reason they're attracting them, maybe with fiery preachers or lively music. How do we compete with something like that?
Well, there's a lot of different things that they have, and one of the things is that they're small. The communities are small. There's a lot of interest that's shown in the person. Look at their social needs. We do all of that, but differently. You know, our parishes are big. You take a Lady of Sorrows in Corona, 7,000 people on Sunday go to Mass. They're all Hispanics, 13 Masses. But it's big. It isn't like they know everybody. They try to help those who do come for help. But when you're in a smaller community, people, look at your needs. They're there to identify them, to do something immediately. Small is beautiful. Wish we had more smaller parishes that could sustain themselves. The fact is our smaller parishes can't sustain themselves because people still just give $1 every Sunday. Sometimes they can't afford more than $1, but it doesn't work on $1. So that's why we have to have bigger parishes that can sustain themselves. And the bigger you get, the more you lose this sense of community, which is especially important to new immigrants because they've lost their community. And it's important to everybody. They want to be known and they want to be important in the practice of their faith, but it's very difficult when we have large communities to do that.
In some parishes, they try to maintain that sense of small community by having smaller Christian communities.
That's right.
Does that work? Is that what's going on in Corona? I mean, they have a lot of people who come to Mass.
Corona is a little bit different. I think he's got a lot of services. There are study groups, etc. One place that it's worked in is Transfiguration in Williamsburg, with the Jesu Caritas study groups that are there for many years. Brian Carvelis had begun them. Now, Senior Hernandez still continues to support them. There, it's worked. They've kept the community, even though they have come from a distance sometimes. They don't live exactly in the neighborhood anymore. But there, we see that small communities can work, and it's shown that they are successful.
In our diocese, of course, we have so many different immigrant groups. The numbers of Hispanics, are they still high, or are there other groups coming in that are competing now with Hispanics?
Well, I think the Hispanics are the largest single group, but we have numbers of Chinese, as we found out. There's almost 500,000 immigrant Chinese in the diocese, in Brooklyn and Queens. And a couple of weeks ago, was at the procession for Our Lady of Session in Flushing. We had at least 2,000 people in the procession, all Chinese, almost all Chinese anyhow. So there are other groups that are large, Koreans, etc. So we have a lot of everybody. It's just not a few of one group. We have a lot of people in all the categories.
Is it tougher to keep young people in the church? I mean, older people, maybe they're more set in their ways. Younger people come here and they almost grow up with the idea that one religion is as good as the other.
Yeah, I think that's true to an extent. I think we do have the youth ministries, these youth groups that seem to work, youth movements for some of the Hispanics. with the Jóvenes de Valor and the offshoot of the Cursillo, all these, they do help because they keep the young people together in the practice of the faith, but we just don't have enough of them.
Good. Bishop, thanks again for being with us.
Okay.